Okay, so good morning, everyone, and good morning, Dr. Shekhar.
Good morning.
Welcome,
Good morning, ma'am.
welcome to our Maven Talk, and it is we are honored to have you on board, and I would like to introduce you. You are currently Principal Chief Conservator of Forests, Biodiversity Conservation, and Secretary State Biodiversity Board, Government of Tamil Nadu. You were formerly Chief Wildlife Warden and First Director of Advanced Institute of Wildlife Conservation and Country Head of Traffic, Global Wildlife Trade Monitoring Network of IUCN and WWF, India, New Delhi. And which is what you are going to talk about, wildlife trade and traffic. You are batch of IFS 89 batch. You hold a PhD degree from University of Arizona, USA. Then you have a lot of publication, international publication, and it is very much, honorable for us, for you to represent India on international platform. Your area of interest revolves around wildlife management, policy analysis, and nature-based solutions. And of course, in future also, you are going to solve all the nature-based and wildlife solutions. Public will be grateful to you for in future for all the policies you are going to make in future while you are in service or when more in future also. So I welcome you on board and wish you all the best for your contribution to our Maven platform. It is a global international platform. Welcome, Dr. Shekhar Niraj. Please, you can take the stage.
Thank you very much. Shall I share my screen for the presentation? It's a slide-based presentation. So,
your voice is not clear, Dr. Shekhar.
Shall I share my screen?
Yes, please.
Is it clear now?
Yes, you can share.
I hope it's visible from the other end.
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay, so I'll start right away. Okay, so thank you very much for this opportunity, which for me is very significant because I think this group is quite a significant group. Usually people.
Sir, kindly talk loudly, sir. Can't hear you properly.
I'm very honored and feel privileged for this opportunity. Is it more clear or is still problem?
Yeah. Little better, sir.
Oh, it's not still good. I've come very close to the computer. So should I use a micro, this headphone and?
It is fine. Yeah,
it's fine. Okay. Please do let me know in case if it's not coming, really heard from your end. No, I'll try just to do something to improve it. Okay, so my honor and my privilege that I've been called by such a really very, very esteemed group of very esteemed, I think, participants and people. And I take this a really great opportunity for me. So as ma'am said, I'm confining my talk today on the topic which I've listed, which I've shown here. And that will go into some slides. I'll try to be, try to stick to thing that slides which are nothing much to explain. I'll try to go very fast. But what I suggest that whenever you feel to really intervene, ask something or add to something, please feel free. And I'll also try that at the end of my presentation, I leave some time for if some more queries remain to be discussed. Okay, this is a typical crime scene. So illegal wildlife trade driven by wildlife, driven by the demands, and that causes the crime to wildlife. It's a typical scenario of a elephant having been poached. Its entire, the face has been extracted in order to extract the ivory, the tusks, which really is valued a lot in international market, and that drives the poaching of elephant. In the same scene, we'll find there are people, after the poaching has happened, they are trying to probably trying to find out what has happened, what is the cause of the elephant death. Probably they have cut the part of its stomach to see that whether any bullet marks might have been seen, and they are trying to find. There are also many onlookers look to be. And this is typically how do we usually manage and we address crime scenes in wildlife, which is of course very, very far from being ideal. And elephant yields a lot of booty, which is valued in terms of money, in terms of trade, in terms of fashion, driven by probably sometime by tradition, sometime, of course, a lot of time by fashion, craze, money, power, whatnot. We keep coming across elephant tusks being smuggled from one place to another. We find in a typical crime scene a lot of materials which are used for poaching elephants, and so are they for the other kind of wildlife. And they have different parts and body parts of elephant. Incidentally, an elephant doesn't only produce tusks and ivory for the purpose of illegal trade. Even its skin, sometimes its hair in the tail, which is very hard, used as a brush. Meat and bones also are used. So therefore, the whole entire elephant is sometimes valued. In also very, shockingly, even live elephants are also smuggled from India. When I was working with the Traffic India as its country head, we had several evidence of baby elephants, calf elephants, being smuggled through vehicle, through transporter from Manipur side into Myanmar, and then to Thailand and China, which is one of the very, very ultimate markets. Probably they maintain this for tourism or for growing as ivory, again, matter of investigation. Number of people have been involved. Even currently also in my present position, I'm also in part of a large scale elephant trade investigation ordered by the High Court of Madras because of having been alarmed by large scale elephant poaching in Tamil Nadu and across many other states of the country. And we are having very, very shocking information on networking, is the reach of this the extracted ivory and tusks, and the kind of involvement of different kinds of mafia groups in that. We are working along with CBI and some other police officials in that investigation work. Very interestingly, a few years ago, there was a consignment intercepted by the customs in Bangkok airport, and little documents had shown that the consignment, which was having Kit Kat, which is very popular chocolates across the world, and particularly in Southeast Asia, was full of the chocolates. But then the documents were not matching with the kind of consignment it had. So investigator, these custom officials couldn't make it out. They called the forensics and then called the other officials. They tried to investigate and took a lot of time. Finally, then when they used the chocolate parts and some other very, very unknown stuff inside that, they sent it for the forensic examination. And when the report came back, it was shocking. It was shocking and very surprising, because that was ivory. The chocolates, there were chocolate layers in those boxes. It's almost about 500, 600 kilograms. And but below that was also chocolate, but this time this chocolate was made of elephant tusks. And that came only out of the lab report. And then probably they couldn't make out that point of time, but was that an Asian elephant or African? But the consignment had come all the way from Africa via Hong Kong, Singapore, and then was intercepted at Bangkok. So the point of saying it is that, this crime is so lucrative, so much money is involved, that they have different kind of modus operandi and methods of deceiving the enforcement, and so that their consignment get through. And while we were studying about that, little previously as in my traffic role, and I was trying to estimate whether we know, all of us know that about Virappan's, lot of crime involving elephants and other wildlife products. And we thought that after Virappan gang was after the, sorry, I need to react to that something.
No, please continue.
And I hope still the audibility is fine.
Yes, yes.
Thank you very much. So we thought, and people generally think that elephant, the weapons group was eliminated, and many other gangs and lot of seizures of elephant tusks were there. So the elephant is safe now. Poaching has been stopped, and the population is growing. But when we analyzed over a long database, we found that since the year 2000, we found there was actually a decline, despite we said that elephant numbers increasing nationally also in the continent, this part also South Asia, and also particularly in Tamil Nadu. We found that actually the status in 2018 was less than what used to be in, much less than what used to be in 2010, 2011, 12, and less than year back, way back in 2000. And that was really shocking to know. It means that elephant were still having a lot of problem, not always all the time, maybe because of poaching or probably illegal trade. Of course, a lot of habitat issues also remain with such a big elephant, big animal. Our investigation, the current and the past also, always point out toward the border. The India's border with the Southeast Asia. Myanmar is part of Southeast Asia, India being the Southeast Asian country. And the Moreh is one place which I have also been to in connection with certain investigation. And we found that almost everything from different parts of the country in wildlife, apart from other contraband, reach Moreh in order to get into Myanmar, and then to get into probably the other parts of Asia, and then other parts of the world as well. Myanmar, as I said earlier, that live elephant we have found with evidence that being smuggled through. We have found red sanders reaching all the way from Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu to Moreh to get into Myanmar. And similarly, we have found pangolin and tiger parts and products, and large number of other products. So when we come across, day-to-day life, also we come across a lot of time. You go to some other tourist places like Jaipur or Kolkata or anywhere, and we are offered, or some people are interested in buying ivory product, and then we do not know whether it's really ivory or we shouldn't land up in legal problem. There are simple tests of also identifying that. You take a cross section and you find that only in ivory we have got lines which intersect at certain angles, usually 135 degree. Those are called Shekhar line, and that's a very easy method of identifying. Even a common man can do it and can find out whether, even in the interest of protecting the animal, as well as also to know whether the person is being really getting landed in some kind of legal issues. Those are Shekhar lines, those are Shekhar angles, and these are the typical only with the elephant ivory. There are ivory produced by 6-7 other species as well. Even the whales also, the blue whales also produce it. And walrus is a marine animal, also produces ivory. But here in this particular significant feature is only true with the ivory, the ivory produced by the elephant, whether it's African or whether Asian. Many different products are also available even still today in the market. In Gujarat, we used to say traditionally that any marriage of a bride would not really be solemnized unless the bride side has given a kangan joda, what you call the kangan joda, which is the bottom left ring, to the groom family, or otherwise the groom family to the bride family. And even Bengali culture also, there are a lot of ivory products are exchanged in marriages, and probably those are the drivers in addition to many other things for the elephant poaching. Tiger, all the time we know we're a tiger country, the largest tiger country in the world, hosts almost 60-70% of the population. And all the time we find that tiger, even today, as earlier, just yesterday, I got some information regarding Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra border. I mean, the tigers being poached, attempt for the poaching, so that they could take out the pelts and then bones, and like elephant tiger has got even there were other usage also of different body products. Its whiskers and bones, claws are all used even within the country itself, and then across all over the world, particularly in China and Southeast Asian countries, in Eastern Asian countries also. Very shockingly, when I was working with the traffic again in Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, we had found that this in the 3 subsequent poaching cases, we found that the tiger, only the right paws were cut off, and the balance of the tiger body was buried inside the earth. We were very surprised at what kind of this new modus operandi for the tiger, because the tiger entire body, I mean, all put together, they might even cost more than 1 to 2 to 3 crore rupees. So why the entire body was being buried and only the paw taken off? Then we came to know after investigation that some local belief was there that if somebody performs a puja with the right paw of a tiger considered really powerful animal, the Durgas and also the vehicles considered traditionally. So they say that if someone conducts a puja with right paw of the tiger, then that person will get rather rains of riches, means the money is called dhan varsi. So wealth, shower of the wealth, and that is what really became one of the very serious issue, that if there's just so much a demand, even can generate within the country itself, then put together the international demand and the nationally rising this kind of tradition-based demand, then tiger will have very, very difficult time to fight for survival. We, in traffic also, we had produced internationally a very big report, and that said that tiger, like the India and country like Nepal, which is the biggest contributor to the international trade of tiger, and in addition to other countries like in China also quite much absorbs it as a market. But more shocking than that was, if you look at the right bottom of the screen, then we found that a lot of farming of tiger was contributing to the illegal trade of wildlife of tiger. And that was wherever it was happening in countries which were historically never known for having tiger in their natural habitats, and that were African countries. So the largest, about 30% of those farmed tigers were actually being sourced from some country like Botswana, Nigeria, and even South Africa also in the African continent, and that was surprising and shocking. Another shocker came to us after the Khaga, which was one of the very infamous seizure, in which about 18,000 claws of leopard were seized, equivalent to about 1,100 leopards. And since Khaga, and then this scenario is from Nepal, when we also gone for investigation, we found that every major seizure of tiger products since the Khaga time had always a mix of bones. Like if you can see, look at also in this picture little carefully, you'll find there are leopard skin, the bigger bones which look to be from tiger. There are femur part of the body which also look to be from tiger, and there are other parts of other animals, and then against another skins of leopard here and there. Small bones also could be of leopard or tiger, and there was a big trap which only will fit a fully grown adult tiger. So there was a mix of it. Why it is happening? We studied a lot. I did some analysis on it. We found that species were substituting other species, like leopard, which was never traditionally part of the traditional, what you call that TCM, traditional Chinese medicines, or even Korean traditional medicines. Always they mention about tiger parts and product, while leopard was being supplied. Then we found that, if you look at it, it's a little statistical. Of course, I've taken the diagram part of this only, but if you look at the tiger X here, if tiger abundance increases, then, if the abundance increases, then it's correlated negatively with the demand. So if there are too much, then demand will be less, typical of economic principle. And if the demand is less, then price will, if the demand is little less, then price will catapult further attract it to, probably put more prices to make it attractive. Price goes up, then profit goes up. Profit goes up, then poaching tiger goes up. But then there's no enough tiger to supply to the market. Then another lookalike species Y, that is leopard, gets into this loop, and then what was the loop originally for tiger, ultimately it becomes for tiger and leopard both. So this is called substitution effect, which is very dangerous, which is sometime, we'll just falsely pass off the leopard bones and tiger mixed with tiger, saying that it's all tiger, so that the prices really goes up and then profit of margin. The entire profit really go very high, and that is something which is worrisome. We did for a few other species, but then very deeply and intricately we did for tiger and leopard relationship. And leopard here, the common leopard, which is called the Panthera pardus, that is found all over the country. We found even the brown, there are other, as we know, India has got some other species, the snow leopard we have got the clouded leopard. Even those were also mixed with tiger in order to bluff the consumer market. Rhino is something which I thought I'll bring it up in this discussion, that rhino, the original rhino horn in Indian context, which has got only, males have got only one horn. It's called one-horned rhinoceros, and less than a kilogram in actuality, they can go up to any amount of price which you can imagine. It can be 1 crore, it can be 2 crore, it can be 3 crore, it can be 4 crore. Anything is possible. And the reason of, the price drove the market, the poaching and dissemination of of rhino so much that in 2000, I think if you look at this corner bottom left graph, then only 2 times in last 30-40 years, we got real peaks where the rhino poaching really risen to a level which could have led to the partial or maybe full extension of the rhino, at least in Indian context. That was in 1990, if you look at carefully here. And then one time it was in 2013-14 when we had intervened and when we created a strong network of informants and intel network. And then the police, one ADGP-led police team was instituted by Assam government. Assam had already declared this species as its own state, animal. And more than 700-800 people were arrested in a long drive and somehow managed to bring down the poaching and save the animal for time being. But if you look at this scenario, that is, repeating scenario, cyclic scenario, then you never know that tomorrow you become slack, then it may again go back. And sometime when it goes back, might be it can even wipe out population. That kind of a danger is there. We even did some spatial analysis. We found that certain districts in Assam, the most affected. Therefore, if we have to optimize resources and enforcement efforts, and seasonality is involved, then you optimize and focus in those months and those districts. Another big, I have also my big 5 and big 6 here. Pangolin, apart from what we heard, discussed so far, Pangolin is something which is enigmatic, charismatic. Charismatic in the sense that we do not know much about it. So, but when the trade happens to an extent, then you really feel, and one really wonders that what is happening with animal, why it is so much. Because I remember 10 years ago, around 2010, from the penguin poachers, whatever investigation we did at point of time, we came to know that the rate, the cost, the price, market price of its scale. The scales are usually are the requirement of the trade, because the scales are used in multiple purposes. In also traditional challenge medicines, making its wines. Wines are even used in party circuits in New York and Chicago and Hong Kong, as per the reports. And also for treating certain diseases as per the traditional medicinal system. They say improving lactation in women which have given birth, or even curing rheumatism kind of thing. So that multiple uses really driven this species. And today, even the COVID time, I remember, this graph, you can say the graph was really going steeply. And even COVID time, it was one species, despite no people on the ground and people invisible that point of time. We found that this animal was being traded, particularly through the online medium, like anything. Absolutely unimaginable. And not only here, across the world, it was happening. Traffic did a lot of work in it, and they had really help in busting several such cases. But despite the fact that CITE is the international convention, which is the largest convention in the world, which addresses wildlife trade across the countries, and had already listed all the 8 species of the pangolin, found 4 in Africa, 4 in Asian region, in its appendices. And India had already brought in Schedule 1 of this, which is the highest protection. Despite that, despite all that hue and cry and concerns raised across different platforms in the world, the animal really getting decimated. The worst is that we do not even know how many animals actually are there, because we don't even know, because such a difficult species, we don't even know what is the population size of this. So difficult to even estimate it. So when something is not known and something is being used, one can understand that how much it involves of getting decimated completely. That is the concern. If you look at this, person is wearing a ring here, which is made of pangolin scale. The person has been advised to wear it. He says that if he wears it, his piles would be cured. Piles, no disease. So, and that is the reason he wanted. He is willing to pay any money for it if he has, and then he got it. But then, scientifically, how much wrong it could be. There are now instances of even live pangolin being traded. People are eating pangolin meat as delicacy in different culture, different part, even in some of the communities in India themselves. So therefore, the species has, and because of the multiple again demand, you can see the network, the kind of network which the country has formed, almost touching all parts of the state, whether they are pangolins are found or not. The Chinese pangolins are found in the northeastern states of the country, and the very few in estimated to be very few. I mean, estimation is all rough estimation. As I said, that no population estimation is within. And then South India, in the border of Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and Kerala, Central India, Chhattisgarh, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, inter-border region, and the Uttarakhand and Uttar Pradesh interface all form to Bengal and then across them. Now, all the species I talked about Moray, where the border drives and border tracks species and contraband to move it toward itself so that it can pass into other markets. We found that North Bengal has really emerged as a traditionally, not even now, maybe 30 years, 40 years, at least since the time wildlife protection was enacted and the trade was completely banned in 1991, that time. So this region of Jalpaiguri and Siliguri has emerged to be a extremely vulnerable, active, and vulnerable market in the country, and very naturally, because it lies so close to the country, several countries like Nepal, we have Bhutan close by, we have China not very far, and also we have Bangladesh in the south side. So that has really become as a hub, and therefore we have this information and probably require a little bit more diligence and discrete operations and some more use of intel to combat that. India as such is a country which geographical location is such that if we look at the north, higher altitude has got its own species which are very, very obligated, means they are very specific to those habitats like brown bears and snow leopard, which all lie only 10,000 feet and above in the Himalayas. Then we have got Bay of Bengal, Arabian Sea, we have the whale shark and several other species like seahorses and plants are also there. We have become into Indian Ocean, and we know that how sea cucumber is decimated each day in Rameshwaram and Tuticorin area. We come more toward the east side, and we found that northeast is really biodiversity rich and also got plenty of plants which are also wildlife, part of wildlife, and they are traded, really at a very, very great scale. Some of the species even I remember that when I was in America, and I was, I had come across a species of a Texas orchid, which cost even that point of time, something around 2007 or 8, $10,000 US. Imagine. So, we have orchids, we have got, some of the very rare species, Central India, horns, stags, snake skin, snake venom across. So the country is very rich in biodiversity. And so 8 sites, it's surrounded by the countries, 6 on the land and 2 on the sea side. 8 countries in South Asia, and then we have got Myanmar in Southeast Asian country, also bordering India. So India itself is geographically so vulnerable. I know that China border, though it's quite long, like if you look at that, China border is pretty long, the longest, but then a lot of areas are inaccessible kind of, at least for a common man, even for the enforcement as well. But then there are areas in Nepal which got free open access, interface between India, Nepal into India can go anytime. Bangladesh quite much is now fenced, but still there are pockets in which you can take in. And therefore there are borders through which species, the contrabands, its parts and products, derivatives are all smuggled and then get into the bigger markets in East Asian country. Now, these two, I mean, there are borders like with China, with even if you seaside, you go to Sri Lanka in water, and then you have got Pakistan in western sector, northwestern, western sector, then north, central and eastern sector with China is there with a long border. But Myanmar and Nepal, which I'm highlighting because these two borders have really become significant in recent time in terms of the illegal wildlife trade because of maybe probably so far it was not quite as known as well as other borders to be active in this context. Nepal has of course been there, but then probably both this country looked to be docile and people thought that probably they will not much indulge, people there may not much indulge in illegal trade. But then data says otherwise, that on information say otherwise. We were investigating wildlife in Afghanistan as part of some project earlier, and we came across, no, I don't know whether you can identify this species since time is also limited and this is an online forum. I'm not getting into much query making things, but then, this is snow leopard. And they clearly said, the shopkeepers, we had done some surveys in Kabul. We also wanted to go to northwestern province, but then that time security was really, even today also security remains very, very serious issue there. So in Kabul, they said that they are mostly being sourced from India and some also from Nepal and maybe a little from, I mean, quite much, maybe also from China. They didn't have much information. They said not only the snow leopard skin, which is really valued because Western world, Western markets, women like to attire kind of snow leopard skin because that gives warmth, and that is really quite much in demand and liked a lot. So a lot of money is paid for it. They say that even a common leopard and a lot of other species cross the border and get into Afghanistan, which in any case is a very poor country, doesn't have much money power to even afford this. But then probably that is a gateway, as per our investigation and analysis, that formed the gateway into getting into Middle East and the further in Western and Eastern and Western Europe. So like as Myanmar is a gateway to get into Southeast to East Asia. So probably border makes a lot of impact in the whole wildlife trade paradigm. Borders and the nearness to border and then the country market, they make a lot of impact on scenario on wildlife trade. I don't know whether you can identify this species or not. I think some of you must have might have even seen it. This is a red fox, and it is one of the main prey species for snow leopard. And you know that both these species can only exist 10,000 to 12,000 feet above that, above the even above the tree line. But then this species is decimated for its skin, which is valued a lot in international market. And if this is decimated, then at that altitude, if the other high mountain, high Himalayan especially like snow leopard doesn't get enough prey, then very obvious that over the time, the population of snow leopard can get depressed and then can even meet with local or partial or full extinction. So therefore, species also interrelated, as I said that. Now, this is another very interesting species. And I think some of you can probably make a guess or even identify also. They're the gallbladders. They're the gallbladders of what? Of bears. We do not know which bear, Himalayan black bear, brown bear, or the common, the sloth bear. But then this is a species, and I especially brought it up for your interest, that is sold at a rate of gold. It is 4 times costlier than gold, actually. So its unit for selling and purchasing in an illegal market is tola. Tola, as we know that, particularly in North India, that tola is the unit for selling and purchasing gold in certain local markets. So this is also sold at tola. It's not sold by gram, not sold by this, but this remains to be world's one of the costliest wildlife item today for many years. Again, used for many traditional kind of medicinal system led by TCM, that is traditional Chinese medicines. So these shawls, I think, may fascinate you a lot. And I have seen kind of shawl. Some of these are called ring shawls. They are literally can be passed through a ring. And I did that. I've done that in Nepal. I've done that in Leh, Ladakh. And I've literally tried that because so far I only had heard. But when I went for my own investigation, I could pass the entire shawl through a ring It's a ring shawl, and people, in certain instances, people even say that if the shawl is put on an egg, then even egg can be hatched. It creates so much of warmth. This is derived from shahtush. Shahtush is derived from mountain antelope, and that's called chiru, which is found in in Chinese plateau, in Ladakh beyond. And then it's the shawls are all made by the craftsmen based in north and western Kashmir. And so therefore the trade, though is especially not found basically in India, some floating population sometimes comes seasonally from China into India, in Leh part of India, Ladakh part of India. But then that's not a really resident population of this country. But then despite that, this is protected in this country because the entire wool thing is all smuggled into Kashmir, and then it is converted into shawls. And you will not believe that the best known market are display them. You can find them in Europe. Even the diplomat wives have been caught sometime while across, taking from India or some other country to other country. And this can cause cost, like I have seen my own market surveys and investigation, up to 50 lakh rupees per one shawl. So 15 lakh rupees per one shawl, I've seen even from 5 lakhs, but 5 lakhs means some contamination, some mixing, like with pashmina, which is not protected, which is a goat species. This is an antelope species. And then you can 10 lakh rupees, maybe a little bit more of shahtush, less of pashmina. And then similarly, as you go on for more purity, the price really goes up. Tradition really drives illegal trade. Indian traditions very rich, but then a lot of recommendations for use of wildlife. Even some of our, Ayurvedic practices such as Siddha and Unani, even Ayurveda also has recommended use of certain animal part, but probably that point of time, animal killing, using, consuming, it was not protected there. If you look at the central, which is a traditional musical instrument, and it's called ghumat, and that is played in Goa, and in any of the auspicious functions, which you see that this is the central part which you drum that, and that is made of pangolin, of the monitor lizard abdomen skin. So you have to kill the monitor lizard to get its abdomen skin. It doesn't shed. Not only that, if you look at the left corner, on the left corner bottom, then that biryani is not the normal biryani which we cook at home and relish. It is made of the meat of monitor lizard. And then you have got hati's joda, which is little above that, and that is used for traditional practices for curing diseases and for helping children to really get some mental strength kind of thing. Children who have got more fear psychosis. And then this peafowl leather, shed feather is found across the country, across the world. We have done the surveys in 18 states of the country, and at any given day, as per our survey report, says that about 25 to 26 crore of the shed feather of peafowl are found in the market. But please also bear in mind that those many peafowls don't shed so much of, because the only abdomen feathers are shed. Only the tail feathers are shed, not the abdomen feather. But you'll get all kinds of feather in that kind of formations. So traditional practices, local consumptions, they all drive, apart from the big markets, big money, the wildlife trade, and plays really serious, causes really serious concerns on the populations. The Indian tent turtle, this Panchura tinctoria, I think, that is found in mostly in Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh, Chambal region. The freshwater turtle, beautiful, it's like a tent structure. And Chennai is one of the hub for this. Chennai, in Tamil Nadu, we don't find it. We don't have that much of that quality fresh water in it. But then they're all brought in here, and then they're crossed from here to Sri Lanka or to Myanmar, or sometimes to Southeast Asia directly, to Bangkok and Malaysia through the sea route, or even through the air route, in order to dodge the the customs and the enforcement. Similarly, for other even turtles and tortoises, also Chennai is one of the hub. So as Bangalore, so as probably Hyderabad and the smaller towns which feed them. Star tortoise, even 30 years ago, when I joined the service and close to exiting now, I still find that star tortoise, despite our information, despite our, almost periodically, at least 4 to 5 times, they are seized. They are seized in different kinds of consignments, and not, consignment, which usually even pass, they have got different modus operandi. Very recently, even today, I have some information which I've just shared with one of the enforcement agency, that one big group is trying to smuggle star tortoise into Southeast Asia to Bangkok, because it's a big market. It's a pet species. This is not eaten. It's a hard-shelled tortoise, and it is not put in water. It is, but it's a very pet, like a dog. It can sleep on your bed. You can give a name to it. It will respond to you. It's quite a pretty species. But then it is heavily traded, unabated, absolutely continuous. I've never seen any decline in it. So that is something which causes. There are several other species. Since time is limited, I will not have to highlight some. Once upon a time, very recently, the most left corner, this corner of the slide, you can see a species which is just about 8 to 9 centimeter long. But someone really, set a rumor that it can cure HIV and AIDS. And after that, people started paying money for this leisure. And then they started paying any amount, 1 crore rupees, 50 lakh rupees, 1.5 crore rupees, just for 8 centimeter, 10 centimeter animal. Similarly, I went to China and I found this hillmana, which is the state animal of, Chhattisgarh. And I found being sold for $8,000 US, or rather Hong Kong dollars, in 2003 itself, when I was in China, for CITES conference. Similarly, the blue-winged parakeet, which can be still had in the market, in Indian market, about 8 to 10,000 rupees just for one bird. So price, the very recently, there's a new craze has come up, and we keep coming across that the vomit of a sperm whale, and which is called ambergris, and the price is absolutely astonishing. 60 lakh, 70 lakh per kilogram, or even could be more. In black markets, you never know about the actual real prices. So there can be, mind-boggling. There can be unimaginable things. We have got, I came across sometime a soup made of shark fins and sea cucumber, which haven't found in our water quite much, being sold for $250 in Chinese market, because they relish it and they have money. They have money power. Their per capita income is very high. They can pay for it. And therefore, the reason the holothurian, that is the sea cucumber, which is not a cucumber, which is an animal. Animal doesn't have a backbone, which is echinoderm. And this is an old, really age-old practice. Chinese introduced that trade into India because we find them. We used to find them plentifully in our water, in east and western coasts, also in Andaman's water. But now the species which are really into the trade, not all of them are there. Like I think Spinifera and Gravara, Holothuria, those that have been completely decimated and might even go extinct if we really don't really protect them and stop this crime. But South Bangkok, anyone can go to Thailand. Like I went a few years back, and then I found in Phuket, in South Andaman Sea, near that an island from Thailand side, you'll find that all those species, you see them in Rameshwaram, you find them in Gulf of Mannar, you find them in Gulf of Kutch, you find them off Kerala coasts, you can find them in market being sold in most of the tourist places in Phuket or in Thailand or Malaysia. Even you go to Puri, you find them. You go to Hardwar, you find them. You go to some good hotels in Delhi, also you find them. So there are, real, quite well spread trade in wildlife. And we should not forget that when we talk about wildlife, we don't always mean only the animal. We do mean, and we must mean, the plants. And we, as I said, that example, gave one example of the Mexican, orchid, but we also have plenty good source and resource of orchids, and some of them are smuggled. We have only 6 plants are protected under the Wildlife Protection Act, but then we have, kind of like huge demand for many of them, like say blue vanda or say this Bedomi Cycas bedomi, which is found in Andhra Pradesh, used as a, quite a big pet species of plant can be, any amount can be offered for that plant to get smuggled into international scenario. Red sanders, all of us know that red sanders only found in 4 districts of Andhra Pradesh, but we have seized this, means all kinds of enforcement has seized this contraband, the red sanders, almost in about 62 countries across the world. Even the ships have been recalled from the sea, mid-sea, all the way, half the way from here to Malaysia. And we found a full of red sanders. We found them found in 4 districts in Andhra Pradesh and few districts, only 1 or 2 districts in Tamil Nadu, but those are not the real, the wild one. So in Andhra thing, you can even find them at least 35 to 40 until 2018, the number of seizures were done in Kathmandu, in Nepal. And you can find in Sikkim, you can find them having been seized in Leh, Ladakh, anywhere in the world. That's such kind of crazes there. For what for? They are used for making extremely expensive, furniture in China, where I went for investigation, Southeast China, and we found that a simple sofa, a small sofa made of red sanders, can cost even 5 crore rupees because of the demand, because the red wood, traditionally liked by Chinese and can be afforded by Chinese. But now, since India is also becoming, like Indians also becoming as rich as the Chinese, tomorrow, who knows, that we can also ask for it because we have the money to pay for it. As citizens, we should know the laws. Some of the common laws may not really like may not directly concerned, may not like to get into really in depth of these laws. But no, as a common normal citizen, we should know at least some of these laws and what it provides, what it doesn't provide, what it allows you, what it doesn't allow you to do. So and to a little understanding, like here, even touching a wildlife can be treated as hunting. If it even take and tease or drive or really chase an animal, can also be called as hunting, and one can be liable for punishment even up to 7 years in imprisonment, minimum even 3 years. Can be even cognizable offense. One can be arrested without warrant, where the minimum punishment penalty has been defined, or it can be really the law can make you pay a very, very hefty penalty. Like if you really fit with the boundary of a national park sanctuary, the fine can be even up to 50 lakhs rupees. So there are stringencies. There are, as I said, that there are specified plants, like 6 plants in the Wildlife Protection Act, and there are 29 plants which are listed in the exim policy of India, which are prohibited for import or export if they are from the wild origin, they're called negative list. And then there are sections like when you go to zoo, you can't trade animals between zoo. The zoo cannot be just opened by anyone. It has to be permitted under the Central Zoo Authority. You can't go and tease an animal. It can become an offense in which you can be arrested and put behind the bars. You cannot transport the wildlife articles. Entire thing can be confiscated. One can go behind the bar. And then we have powers given in the act, in which forest officials have got even powers to arrest a person even without warrant from certain level and above. One can go and raid any premise without any warrant and can seize if they are found to be suspected to be involved in certain crimes. So therefore, if we indulge as a common citizen, or we do not, even if we are seeing the thing happening and not intimating and informing the enforcement, we still can become liable for prosecution because we failed to do our duty as per this law. And therefore, it becomes a bound duty of every citizen to assist, diverse the information, share the information with the enforcement in order to, when they see something suspected activity that is involving wildlife crime. And there are stringencies in this law, but then a little implementation side, we have serious concern because we are not really very strict in implementing the law, in the sense that the punishments are not often granted. Somehow the implementation procedure is too complicated sometimes, and very few people get punishment which is prescribed by this act. Sometimes our documentation is very poor. We don't stand up the cases in the courts of law, and usually our intel is next to negligible, zero kind of thing. Our case handlings are quite weak in terms of enforcement, and so usually I think a lot remains, in addition to the stringency of the law, to be brought as important practices in order to make wildlife more secure and implement this act more strongly. But when internationally the animals move and wildlife move, then we have a big convention, as I probably named in this also, probably in the first slide of the different laws, the Convention of International Trade, which is one of the largest convention in the world. CITES is called. Therefore, even we transport, we have to be very careful from here into the other countries. It can come under the purview of the international convention in which India also has been signatory since 1976, and here it is operationalized by way of the Customs Act 1962, and we can land up ourselves in legal net in case if we are seeing or we are handling or we are carrying from one, even unknowingly also we are carrying, we can land ourselves really into the serious problem with the law. So international convention CITES, India has still to really make a strong legislation to back it up. Many countries have done that, despite we have demand for one of the earliest signatory, but we are committed that as much we protect our own domestic wildlife, we stand to commit, I mean, we stand committed to also protect international wildlife, stop the illegal trade, regulate the legal trade. Is a regulatory mechanism, not exactly the banning stuff, but then there are certain appendix to it which completely bans it, but then others are there which are done through permits and licenses. So if we don't have permits and licenses, in those cases, we are absolutely not expected to carry, accept, take in our baggage any wildlife product which intercontinentally, internationally, intercountry wise. Okay, I will quickly skip the scientific aspect of it. There are mechanism emerging thing. We can study the structure. We can say that with this rhino horn, it's not a rhino horn, it's a simple bone. We can look at the hair of an animal, just the foreign hair, and we can make out with a shahtush or a pashmina or maybe some other sheep species. So that structure analysis gives us clue, we can even look at inside the hair. We can, through a very high-powered microscope, like say 10 into what, x, 10x kind of thing, and look at the internal structure, measure it, and then we can probably find out that it belongs to probably hair of a sambar, the hair of a jackal, or a hair of a spotted deer, or maybe hair of something else, monkey or something else. That also kind of science is now developed. So there are methods of structural analysis and finding out the species and determining the species, determining the trade. We can even look at the structure visually and can say that whether it's a fake or natural, the wild. There's tiger, leopard, tiger, but one of these claw is fake. And I'm not solving it here. I'll leave it to you to think about it. Just bear in mind your thought on it, which one of these is fake. But it has been so beautifully created and it was so beautifully passed off, of course, later intercepted by the enforcement and it was seized. But then it was being passed off as a tiger claw. One of those is ready-made. I mean, is artificially made. Even tiger skin is artificially painted. Ivory product in name of ivory is actually done by on a bone or on a kind of artificial material polymers. Rhino horns are done all the time. So therefore, also it's also important for the enforcement particularly to know that whether it's a fake or original. Then there are mechanisms like stereo vision X-rays, which can even identify, can say that one is the transparent one is actually the real, the opaque one is actually the fake. Those kind of mechanisms are available. Advanced science now applies to that. Like DNA we can find, like murder cases we find DNA, we establish the crime, we establish the criminal behind it. Similarly, in wildlife also now this field has been very, very widely applied. India also is now gearing up in doing it. But we need to really step up a lot of ladders in it. And we can just take any sample of blood or hair or from anywhere we can get the DNA of that. And then we can establish not only the species, not only the population, we can also establish the criminal behind it, the whole purpose behind it, the network behind it. There are like where we have the new gadgets are coming. We have smartphones, can do a lot of business, do a lot of stuff in it. Similarly, we are also having a lot of advancement in wildlife crime enforcement gadgets. We have got handhold DNA reader. We can simply go to the field, look at the animal, take the blood, put in the system, and we can instantly find out that it belongs to that species, belongs to that population. I mean, something can be done. I'm not saying it's so easy, but then it is now possible. Okay, so now I'm coming very close to the end and the time both. Maybe just 2 or 3 more slides. Financial forensics, bank transactions, money exchange, the accounts study, the analysis can tell a lot about what has happened, who are involved, who has passed what to whom. Similarly, now on digital, footprint, what we call that, that digital footprint. We can leave a lot of information, you can get a lot of information from the mobile, from the WhatsApp group, from the email stuff, from the, the stored memory of the, the mainframe of the computer or of the mobile phone. And we can get clues about huge networks sometimes, what we are doing currently in our present investigations into wildlife, this elephant poaching cases, elephant trade cases. So therefore, really, really good advancement has happened in science and technologies, which can be applied to solve the problems of crime investigation. But they have to be put to use, to correct use, proper use, trained use, in order to really optimize its use resources. Now, let me very quickly give in 1 minute the perspective why it is happening, what is happening. Look at this curve. What is happening? We are finding a straight, steep rise in the curve, positive rise, and this is almost linear. That shows that economy is growing. So our per capita income is growing, our capacity to pay is growing, our capacity to fly something ourselves and some things also into other countries growing, that capacity is growing. It means that overall we are growing economically, therefore affordability is growing. So if everything is growing, there obviously there's more money involved, more, and then money causes demand. So therefore it is bound to happen, that is, it bound to grow, no doubt about it. If it's bound to grow, if you look at this very quickly, this graph, you see GDP external means what is happening outside of my country. GDP internal, what's happening within my country. Both sides economy is growing, as we know. So it will give rise to hike in the demand. Hike in demand will give rise to hike in price, increase in price. If the price increases, the profit obviously increases. If I think that if profit increases, I will make my poaching effort of a species X more, because if I understand that that can give me more profit. So if the poaching increases, then if the poaching effort increases, the poaching increases, then the animal density decreases. Animal density, it becomes less tiger, less elephants, less this. If there's less of that, less abundance, then it's negatively, then the less abundance means once again the demand increases. So that loop is there, which is called system generated loop, which shows that if economic grows, then it is bound to grow in demand, it's bound to grow in exchange, in crime and in illegal exchange, illegal trade. Therefore, I think that the only answer is probably is not only that stronger law, stronger enforcement, probably matching capacity to combat that. Means better training, more equipment, more staff, more resource, more capacity in general to be able to combat such a strong onslaught on the wildlife. South Asian country, the SAVEN, the South Asia Wildlife Enforcement Network, 8 countries together, they came on platform to see that at least in South Asia they could protect. But unfortunately, last 10 years, and I've been involved in formation as well as establishment of this institution, is headquartered in Kathmandu, but unfortunately in 10 years could not really do much. So therefore, if you look at that economic paradigm, and if you look at that, such an important body which could really address this issue so powerfully and impactfully is not working, then it's a mismatch that cannot really help. But everything is there, and we find that we say that strong law alone will not help, or if we make more interventions, more approach, it can help. Probably more interventions can intervention in those terms, like in terms of investment, in terms of capacity building, probably in terms of more powers, but the enforcement, better coordination can solve the problem. Theoretically, we can say yes, but can that really solve the problem totally? Can we really eliminate the complete fear of wildlife decimation, at least certain species which are on demand completely? I personally think no. The answer is no. I still think if you look at this model will give you one thing, that stop the buying, international policy, stop the trafficking, stop the buying. So the third step, that is stop the buying, that concept, and that's not so easy to really frame this model, is really important. I think that if the demand reduces, very obvious that the entire chain of custody can be probably broken, eliminated, and completely addressed. So therefore, I think that the best solution could be as much possible by way of a strong campaigning, or probably every section of society coming, hand in hand to enhance it, awareness and sensitivity with the citizen, with the people, and say that let's try to reduce the demand itself. Because if there's no demand, I'm very sure that no one will like to really go into, take risk of going into poaching, because when nothing is to be sold in the market, when the market is not demanding. But having said so, I would also say, China has also been trying making an effort. Many other organizations have also, like Traffic and other organizations and number of other global organizations are trying now to convince people, the different markets known for the wildlife trade, to not to make demands. But not everything is coming as per the plan. Not everything is really succeeding. And this model of this 4th step has to be, when we have a campaign, when we do a campaign, we have to do a lot of modeling of the consumer behavior, the seller's behavior, the buyer's behavior. And only when optimally we do that, probably this kind of campaign succeed. But then nevertheless, I would say that this is one of the best strategy, the best approach to address the issue of illegal wildlife trade and wildlife crime per se, by saying that market has to be finished. And that probably could answer that. Now, for the young people, the young participants and the young entrepreneurs, the young students, there are a number of institutions which also give this opportunity to make, wildlife, the wildlife research, the DNA research, the genetics, or the enforcement opportunity for them to get into it and be part of this and try to address. Even if they have some passion, it's all the more good. Even as career, it's really very good. Number of institutions, in India has itself got institutions of real great competence, and globally also they are there. So this is a really great area for youngsters to come and be part of it. I think that is all. I don't know whether you can say about what is this species and where it is. I'll be happy. Madam, you can try.
Yes.
What species is this?
Snow leopard.
Excellent. Excellent. And where is it?
Oh, Himalayas.
Yeah, but Himalaya is pretty long, 3,000 kilometers. Of course, it's very so difficult to say that it is in Leh. And it was taken by one of my team mate and my colleague, Ashwarya. And this is snow leopard, which only can be seen, and I have seen one, and can be seen only at 12,000 feet and above in the Himalayas. They really roam around in that area. It's beautiful. And when we were going there once in connection with one survey in Upper Himalaya with the help of army. My wife was also with me. We went to one western sector very close to Pakistan border. Army had hosted us there. The place is called Darash and Batalik. If you remember, that Kargil war had actually taken place from there. And we went to Batalik, the place where we met some villagers, some big families, and they call themselves pure Aryans. And they look like that. They look like, typical European, sharp nose and sharp eyes and all that stuff. They speak only Hindi and English, and you can only reach there with the help of army. It's about 15,000 feet. The four villages, about 3,000 families, they don't marry outside, but they say that they're only the pure race of the Aryans. And they live with this snow leopard and Himalayan brown and black bear. They don't have any fear. They are ecosystem people, and they love it because they belong to them, and they also know how to protect themselves. But they say that we must have the snow leopard and brown bear and black bear. They must not never vanish. Those are the people we have met. We spent half a day with them, and we can never forget those moments in that. I think that is what from my side. I'm sorry that I've little exceeded my time. So.
Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Niraj. And it was really very enlightening session. And you have literally covered how, why, what, and how to curb traffic, wildlife traffic, or forest produce and everything. And you have created awareness also, because most of the things we don't know about. And being a part of society, we also use so many products which we unknowingly use it, and we don't know about the law, or we don't know about what we are using, whether it is banned product or it is it has come from killing the animals. So you have given a beautiful explanation about everything, and what are the laws, and how to avoid all these killing of animals. That is really beautifully explained with all the data and all the beautiful pictures, and of course, harsh reality also. Uh, I'm really very happy to be sharing all those thoughts of yours and a whole of your life's research on this and your life passion also. You are working in this field only. So thank you very much for that. And now this platform is open for question and answers. Anybody who would like to ask question, Dr. Niraj will be here to answer you. Thank you.
Sorry, Nupurji, there is a question in the chat box.
Yes. Please read it, Shabana.
Okay. So the question is, what measures government is taking to stop or reduce wildlife crimes, especially at community-led initiatives, because the community, we and our culture is creating demand for such items. Our major consumer, and what are the priorities in terms of allocation of funds for the same?
I would say that government is willing to do a lot in it. Government is concerned, governments are concerned, the national government also concerned. But as I said, it's more complicated than what meets our eyes. As I said, that it's very, very big networked oriented crime. Unlike, like when we see the murders or kind of some crimes which involve humans, and we sometimes, they are very local or maybe motivated by the local causes and effects. Here necessarily, I'll tell you with an experience of almost 25, 30 years in this field, I would tell you that most of the crimes are networked, highly networked. Therefore, that understanding has to be clear and must be there with the policymakers. That by simple measures, by simple some allocations or some campaigns, or maybe a little bit piece and meal, improvement in enforcement cannot probably really match up with the enormity of the crime and the enormity of the illegal trade. So therefore, I think that it is required to really being very, very vast in our approach, very gross in our approach, and rather in that, and look at an every aspect of it. Like say, for instance, very small thing like intel collection. I'll tell you, despite government have been trying and enforcement, this law has been there, but I'll tell you, there's still intel system is extremely weak. See, you and I, we don't see any wildlife in the market being sold, isn't it? We go to the market, hardly see it except that shells, etc. We not see that. But despite that, animals and species are declining. Why it is happening? Because most of the crimes are tacit. They are hidden. And intel is one of the best mechanisms to do that. But still, even today, even despite knowing that tiger sometimes may reach critical level of the lowness, and elephant can be tomorrow, pangolin almost decimated, but then it still will not operate on that intel-based mechanisms. So, and then there are a lot of new technologies have come. We are very slow in applying them, like when say AI-based mechanisms or say that any other kinds of surveillance systems, I2 and other kinds of information networking system. Still, I tell you, the forest departments across the countries don't have that. They do not. Even if they have, sometimes they don't have adequate practice, the training in handling them. So many times you'll find that equipment's there, but there's no user in it. For smallest instance, I'll tell you, like metal detector. Metal detectors have been given to many divisions in the country, in many of the states, but you will not find anyone carrying it then and trying to find the ballistic component or some metallic part in it. They're not. So in a nutshell, to wrap up that answer, I'll tell you that intention is good, intents are there, but then it is to be very strategic. The approach to the combating wildlife trade and illegal wildlife trade and the crime has to be very strategic, very wholesome, look at every sector within the sector itself and address that, whether it's intel collection, whether it's a campaigning required, whether it's a market survey, whether the international coordination, relax the rules there so that you can freely coordinate with that, the exchange of information, the data collection, all that must be in a holistic manner. If we do not do, I think we can never win this battle. Now, another thing pointing it out that in your question, I mean, the question has been great, no doubt about it, good. But then community is not to be blamed for it. I mean, community is not the larger consumer. Sometimes tribals do, I mean, some of the local communities, they do consume, I mean, they consume wildlife because their tradition, their practices. But though that cannot lead to complete elimination, I can never tell you that. It is only the big market forces, when they operate, the likelihood of elimination much higher than local small consumption. So let's focus our efforts on the bigger picture rather than look at the very minor issues and then do that. So campaigning proper, involvement community is a good thing which is happening, which is government also doing it and many other organizations are doing it. And then involve several organizations. There are many organizations I have seen which are very powerful, very good in terms of their work. As I mentioned that Traffic, WWF, WTI, some of the even national the wildlife defender across internationally, IUCN. These institutions do not really have very major roles to play on the ground. Involve them because they are really focused. They are dedicated on them. They have information, their knowledge. They have that willingness to work, but they are not given much roles to do that. So better coordination, better, kind of that spirit of involving and coordinating with the agencies across even scientific institutions. I think that would be a better approach to dealing with this issue.
Thank you. Anyone else has any question?
I don't have a question. It is just that I want to say a few things about it. Thank you so much, sir, firstly, for the amazing session. Well, I will say that it was very valuable because we all were very much aware of such illegal activities and the heinous activities. But this session, I will say, is kind of a reminder to all of us that in our day-to-day activities and schedule, we somewhere miss such things. So like you said that there is one thing that we can do is reducing the demand by not buying. I think one more thing after this session, I realized is spreading the knowledge and, connecting to the people around us and encouraging others to do the same thing. We all were very much aware of all these things, but the details that you shared in like such details, somewhere it encourages us that yes, we are missing out a very big factor and part. So I feel other than that, I really want to thank all of you for arranging the session as well. And thank you so much, sir. And with the demand and buying thing, I think one thing we all can do is spreading the word and encouraging the people around to do the same.
Absolutely. Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's really wonderful.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Sonal. And we have one more question, and it is what we can do in India to make the youth the champions to protect the wildlife, like mass conservationist movement kind of thing.
I think she just answered that. Who had the previous speaker. I mean, she just answered that. This is what we can do is to increase self-awareness, take more interest, greater interest in it. At whatever level, I mean, it can be sometimes even at family level. At little bigger, kind of society level, like this effort. I think this is a great effort, this particularly, organization of this talk. And this level, but what is important is should be consistent. Like, it's not that once we do it and then we just forget it, because this is something which we have received in our legacy, the wildlife, and we are going to live in our legacy to our children. Therefore, I think this has to be very consistent. It has to really be on a very active level, as she said previously. And I think that is what the youth may be probably, this as we generally gloss over, we are very fond of new stuff, gadgets, new life, more materialistic. I'm not saying any philosophical thing here. And those have also their own importance in life. We go to malls, we go to play, but how many times we go for campaigning? How many times we actually carry on this message? And even a small group is that we can go and stand in a mall and say that, do this, don't do this, do that. Because we don't take initiative. So taking initiatives, small, doesn't matter, small, big, medium, anything, but we must take it and be consistent with that. And youth, the main, going to be the main carrier for it, the main ambassadors for it, because they only have to see the life. They see, we have to make effort that we leave something for them. They have also to make effort, must make effort consistently, that they continue to seeing it so that they also could pass it on to the next generation. So therefore, everyone has some role in one way or the other. one can, I mean, I can't immediately say that what could be those roles. Then one can think about it, that one can have a role, one must have a role. You just play that.
Sir, good afternoon, sir. I have a question. Thank you very much for this wonderful presentation, sir. Very enlightening. I want to know, like, what is how could the tackling of shark fin trade in southern Tamil Nadu be? How is it being handled, sir?
I say that, this number one problem with the shark is here. As you know that almost about 65, 66 species we have in Indian waters, and almost of that, about 58, 59, or maybe 60 are there also in Gulf of Mannar. Even today also, we don't have capacity to really identify, when they're only the fin stage, the only fins are there, which species they belong to. Because as you know, that not all of them are protected under the law. And they cannot be also, because you know that we have a lot to really share with the fishing community and the committee, because we also see that which is not protected, which is not really, we should let them also consume and use it, because that also forms the basis of their livelihood. But how to distinguish that what I am taking, whether by way of landing or by way of the trade or local trade in the fish market or in the export market, are they the same species which are protected? Six of the shark species are actually protected, and then we have a whale shark, and then the pipefish and the skates are there. But then only 6 out of 66. It can only happen when you have that skill to be able to do that. But have we really done that? If you do go there to those staff, you tell me any of the enforcement official, can they really identify that? First to say that, can they really identify that? It means that I think most probably the answer is going to be no. And fishermen can still identify them because they have been seeing this in the childhood, but then enforcement probably still will be much weaker platform. They won't be able to. So I think the capacity has to increase of the enforcement which is there in that. I don't think that capacity is still there. Use technology, use more of the campaigns and the awareness materials, the materials too. Like I remember that in 2002, in fact, I was in the committee when the shark was brought in the Wildlife Protection Act. I was in that committee. And then we had published, these posters and those materials to make enforcement and others aware about what is protected, what is not protected in Bombay when I was posted in there. Till today also, I'll find that except very occasional publications of a small, diary book and book of reference for identifying not only shark, other marine species, very few. And in all probability, when I go to the field, I ask the enforcement official, can you show me what are you carrying in your pocket to see that if we come across, suppose there incidentally, will you be able to identify that? He said that I'm not carrying anything. So that consistency in real capacity doesn't lie with the enforcement. Doesn't even, so therefore we have to be more willing, more enterprising, more forthcoming, more strategic in training them, in improving their capacities, and also to understand that not only the forest officials can do, really the work there. There are other agencies which have got much more greater competence, like Coast Guards and Indian Navy, the Coastal Police. They have to be really completely brought on board and see that a strong coordination is there so that we have greater teeth in our approach. And then, as I said, that since enforcement lacks a little bit of that, a sustained campaigning with the villagers, not only campaigning will be just go and march past, but we also do the capacity building of the fishermen folks also, that see this species which is very, very now declined and must be protected. And they're also protected under the law. So whenever you find, you immediately have your fish landing site cleared of all these species. You have to have necessarily to have the exclusion devices in your if such a thing exists in your fishing operations. You have to be more careful. So therefore, hitting all the sector which matter there, sectorally strongly in a very, very kind of a way, which is, I'm saying, if you understand what I'm saying, that is to be really strong sectoral, then only I think the answer will be there. Right now, it's not there.
Thank you very much, sir.
Hello, excuse me. I have a question, sir. I'm from Bangalore. I'm a forest officer. It was a nice session, sir. Thank you very much for that. Sir, how do we handle a foreign species? For example, just a day before yesterday in Bangalore, we confiscated about 18 different species of birds, reptiles, which had actually landed in Kempegowda International Airport. Of course, the DRA was the main identifier. So they caught these people, and we were handed over all these species. So as per the Wildlife Protection Act, as you are aware of the recent amendment and all those CITES, how do we handle these foreign species, sir? I stay next to a lake in Bangalore, where the other day I saw two species of, the pet species which are foreign in nature, and they have been infested all these lakes in Bangalore. So suppose we confiscated day before yesterday the green anacondas, marmosets, and all kinds of foreign species. So kindly tell us, sir, like how to handle these foreign species under the law.
Yeah, I mean, very important question. Very important. I had not touched upon that because of limitation of time. But what you have raised is very important, extremely significant question before us. And I just said that as India is growing economically, like China or any other country, our capacity to pay is increasing, and so is our level of and nature of demand also changing. Now we also want to have it, like what Chinese once known to have it. Not why to blame Chinese. Even European, if you go and see, they want to have the chatouche shawl, so they want to have. Like I had one of the major seizure in Bombay, 2002, the largest seizure in the country so far, 13,000 birds, and that was majority of them were meant for Middle East and then into Western Europe, even including Netherlands. Finches and munias and thing. Now, coming back to that, the first step which must be taken is to immediately quarantine. If we don't quarantine, there are two kinds of danger. One, you yourself said that. One is that is pathogen, which can play havoc like what we have just come out of it. May not be fully, but then think that we have come out of it, COVID. And then second is what you said, that invasion. Like red ear sliders, you might also be, I think, coming across once and off. The red ear sliders, the turtles,
Yes, sir.
Those are Central American, rather North American species, and then they are even considered within America itself invasive. But you can see at least, I do not know what the estimate is, but then it can definitely not be less than 5 to 6 or 10 lakhs in the country today. When the country of origin, North America itself is considered, because some of the states have got in America the red ear sliders as the native species. Others it invade. The species invades, so they have banned, or they have become kind of like very strong quarantine, etc. But here it's easily available. It comes all the time in there. Similarly, as you said that you're also seeing the pet in near that second tank, or I don't know which water lake. But then, therefore, I think by no means, if we have intercepted, that should be brought inside this country. They must not be brought in. They must be immediately taken back. CITES can help in it. Get in touch with CITES immediately. The CITES headquarters, the only problem becomes what happens, which blocks it, breaks, and maybe put some kind of obstacle, is that who will afford the cost of taking it back? But then sometimes CITES do help. Sometimes some of the international organizations like IFAO and WTI is the part of that here in the country. Those kind of organizations help. So maybe even WWF may also help. So they must not be brought in because of both the reason. Of course, quarantine can take care of the pathogenic load, and then pathogen elimination we can still detect and kind. So unless we have the quarantine, even if we have the quarantine, after quarantining also, it must be brought and sent back to the country of origin. Sometimes it's very difficult to find even the country of origin because they change the countries. Like, I remember that once we have caught one ivory in Bombay, which started from Chad, went to Nigeria, Zambia, then went to Dubai, then came to Singapore, then to Bangkok, and then came to Bombay. So we do not know that, but CITES can help in it. Feel very free in getting in touch with them. Problem with them that these organizations exist, the instruments exist. They say that people don't approach them.
Oh,
I remember that once I had intercepted one consignment in Bombay way back in 2002 or 3, and that was a kind of, I think, bird feathers. We didn't know what to do because that was a bird feather which was actually exotics, non-native. So we thought, I don't know, because WI didn't have that capacity at that point in time to identify that. So we packaged them, we got in touch with Oregon, which is in US, and they got a beautiful, very good forensic laboratory and big institution. And they said that send it, but follow this protocol. So if we don't follow the protocol of sending the consignment, which is not live, even the live and not, I mean, alive and dead, both, if you don't follow the protocol, in all probability, they will be rejected. So we must follow the protocols. For that, we get in touch with those institutions actively, coordinate with them, and then package that with the live or dead animals or parts of derivatives and send them back to the country, and also send to those kind of institutions like Oregon and to find out which species it was. Many times we do not know. They are camouflaged. They are also sometimes painted to look like a, so all that complicities remain. So therefore, we follow the principle of quarantining first. And I know that very, very few quarantines are available in the country, despite law might have been changed. And I mean, I do not favor some of those amendments, but still that is a different topic. But then having said so, we do not have, so we must impress upon our government to create a quarantine facility. Because for exotic species, we must quarantine them even before sending it back. Then second, take all measures and make all effort to send them back to the country of either the origin or from where they have come. Take help of CITES in that matter with the help of these international organizations. And third thing is, must have the data, must make the, document them, must have the data, share the data immediately with the central ministry in your own state, but the DRA, customs, etc., etc. Feel very free in coordinating with DRA. DRA is one such institution which is superb, great in their approach and help, and especially Bangalore DRA, I'm very appreciative of it. Yes. They are really do good business. They are never unwilling to do, but they expect much better help from the forest officials, much better, much active, assistance to them. Never at no stage till the time it is all done completely as per those protocols, leave the job in between.
Okay.
Document them, very correct picture, immediately spread the entire thing so that it goes to the network. Share freely this data with all the organizations concerned, the ministry, the governments, the scientific institutions. So I think these 3-4 steps are doable, achievable, and must be done.
So thank you, sir. I do have one more question, sir.
Please.
So recently, we seized through a customs post office, the Indian Post, what we have in Bangalore. So they informed us that they have seized a consignment of grey jungle fowl feathers being smuggled to US and UK. So we got quite a few parcels, which actually originated from Shivamogga and Sagara and all that. Those are the districts in Karnataka. And these guys have been sending the grey jungle fowl, the male grey jungle fowl feathers, neck feathers, which is generally used for fly fishing in UK and US and all these Western countries. So we don't have any kind of coordination or contacts between these postal authorities, where they rarely scan some of these materials. And I'm afraid we not even have touched any of the private courier services like Blue Dart or any kind of other services. So we are only a tip of iceberg that we have seen with Indian Post. So where I suspect that, as you are aware, there may be many more bitch wildlife trafficking happening through courier service.
Absolutely. Fantastic observation of yours, and really good work and a punctuative at confiscating this. And this species is really in demand and seen everywhere in the country, originating usually from Karnataka and even Tamil Nadu also, Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra. And I'll say that postal, it is not a primary concern for them, the postal department. It's our, it's concern, it's mandates everyone's, but then it's our concern primarily. They will look forward to, really getting this information, and we must do. So it is here at this level, it is for us to take a strong initiative and go and I'll tell you, at least I'll tell you the same bird instance which I told you in Bombay. When we found out that was being, the part of it, about 600 of them were being carried in hands in the passengers, with the hand luggage by Pakistan International Airlines aircraft. It was a 28-hour long operation non-stop, in which I was leading it inside the airport in Sahar. And Then we came to know when we had apprehended with that operation and DRA was helping us, small teams were working. In the night interrogation after intercepting them, and then we found out that Pakistan International Airlines was carrying it, and then we found out some information from Dubai, and then we found that it's the regular practice of being taken the birds from all over the country, especially Himalayan birds and hill manas from this Chhattisgarh and places and some of the rare birds, falcons also are taken. Then we got in touch with the highest authorities in PIA, Pakistan International Air, this PIA Airlines. And then we got in touch with the highest authorities in CITES. And you won't believe that and I was at DCF level. And then and I kept informing my ministry, I was reporting to the Ministry of Environment at that time. You won't believe that the kind of response which I got from this organization institution to have the close meeting with us, customs were part of it. And then we followed it up with cutting edge level training and capacity. So you also, I'll tell you, I can give you a guarantee that if we approach the highest authority, the Postmaster General, or even the deputy of his in Bangalore, I will tell you that they will always be very willing to help.
Yes, sir.
And then we can have a strategy. So customs, postal department, us, the forest officials, we have that level meeting and then continue that with different levels. And then we must train the cutting edge level where the things are really handled, and then train them. Because unless we train them, interest will not develop, because they must know before they do something. I think all that might be lacking. So therefore we think that. So it is the first, but the first seed has to be sown by you. That is, you have to take little extra. Even sometimes some officers are not interested. They may say, we have got a lot of other works, we come across. You approach the other officer. But since you're looking very keen and dedicated, I think you can take such kind of initiatives. And so the result will induce a lot of other organizations and people.
Yes, sir.
That's what we are not doing yet. As a forest department, we are always keeping and living in a cocoon, and we think that we are the greatest of all, which is not true. And then we do not all go out. For me, I don't even mind going to a very, very unknown institution or organization also and say that if you know something better than me here, let us work together. I think that inhibition, shield, break it. That's not going to help anywhere. That doesn't help anyone. And see that anybody who's willing to participate, invite it, really attract him or her, and see that let's work together. I think most institutions are quite much willing to work. I'll tell you today, I should not take it otherwise. I'm not making personal comment, but I'm just taking it a very kind of lighter hearted comment that even for wildlife protection, I'll tell you the individuals, the citizens and the groups, civil society groups still remain more interested than the forest officials to protect, given the opportunity.
Yes, sir. Yes.
You have a small campaign, you see how many people could respond to that.
Yes.
And they've spent time whole day and will become part of your mission. But
Absolutely.
we don't create those platforms. So do that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
We have one more question. Just
Hello.
Yeah.
So,
please.
okay. Hello. I have got,
Yes.
I have got some queries. I have got some queries and issues to be clarified. Can I continue?
Please carry on.
I am Viju Bandi from Karnataka, retired public prosecutor. Thank you for your valuable information so far. This act is a central act and applies uniformly to the whole of our country. When such is the case, the registration of the case, investigation and trial also must be same throughout. The entire act is silent about the nature of the offense, whether the offenses are cognizable or non-cognizable. Then we have to refer for this purpose the schedule of CRPC, that is part 2 of schedule 1. There are 3 categories of offenses classified under the part 2 of schedule 1. They regarding offenses against other acts. They are classified as IPC offenses and other laws, IPC and other laws. So for all offenses arising out of offenses other than IPC, we have to follow schedule 1 part 2 of CRPC for the purpose of whether they are cognizable or non-cognizable, whether bailable or non-bailable. when the act is silent as to whether the offences are cognizable or non-cognizable, then we have to invariably refer this schedule. When there is a scope for interpretation, the problem arises. Because these three categories of offences as shown under part 2, that is the offences which are punishable with less than 3 years, they are termed as non-cognizable offences. Less than 3 years punishment under any act except IPC. So the second category from below, offences punishable with 3 years and above and not more than 7 years, they are classified as cognizable and non-bailable. And more than 7 years and punishable with imprisonment for life and death, that is, they are all cognizable and non-bailable offences. Yeah. So here the entire act, when it is silent about the cognizability of this offence, there are divergent judgments even from many high courts that the offences punishable under section 51, first para of this Wildlife Protection Act, all are non-cognizable offences because they are punishable with which may extend to 3 years. The word which may extend to 3 years, there is scope for interpretation, whether it comes under category 2 or 3. So, dealing even at the initial stage of the registration of the case, many of the cases, the courts were lenient while granting bail because all these offences are non-cognizable ones because they are punishable with less than 3 years or which may extend to 3 years. But as per the definition of cognizable offence under CRPC, section 2 subclass 3 of CRPC, the definition is very clear. Cognizable offence and cognizable case are those where a police officer can arrest without warrant as per the scheduled CRPC or under any other law for the time being enforced. Section 50 subclass 1 of Wildlife Protection Act empowers the officers mentioned therein, authorized that in section 50 subclass 1, to arrest without warrant and to seize the property without orders of the court. So automatically all these offences should be considered as cognizable and non-bailable. But unfortunately, since the Act is silent about this aspect, there are scope for interpretation and this benefit of this lacuna in this law is being taken by the offenders. The second important aspect is how to register a case. Whether FIR should be registered or a complaint should be filed before the court when immediately offence is detected. Yeah. So can I take 5 minutes totally to explain all these things?
For the host to come in and say on that.
Okay, thank you. Then when the offence is detected, officers authorized under section 50 of Wildlife Protection Act, they are empowered to arrest without warrant. Yeah. The officers are not only police officers, but there are forest officers, and as per the Gazette notification of Karnataka, even revenue officers are authorized to arrest and seize the property. When such is the case, how to register a case when it is detected and arrest is made and seizure are made by other than police officers? The entire CRPC concentrates on only police. In every section, there is a word that is police officer. No confiscation or just anything. It is done by other officers other than police officers. What is the procedure to be followed? So the law is also silent about the investigation of the offences arising out of this act. But the power to arrest and power to seize is given other than police officers also. And section 55 says, no court shall take cognizance of the offence under this act except on a complaint of authorized officers, as mentioned under section 55. There also, the officers other than police officers are authorized to file complaint. First point is, when the offences are cognizable, whether to register FIR or to file a complaint. Because as per the verdict of Honorable Supreme Court, when the offences are cognizable, registration of FIR is mandatory. Then, how to register FIR by the officers who are not police officers? When they seize the property and arrest the accused, what is the actual procedure to be taken by those officers? As per the CRPC, they are not having power to investigate or they are not having power to submit final report. So these are all the areas or issues since the inception of this act is there, and unfortunately, there is no clear judgment even by the courts that what is the actual procedure to be followed. Because the main question is, the investigation is defined under CRPs. Investigation is collection of evidence by police officer or any other person authorized by the law, authorized by the court in this way. So other than police officer, he has to take investigation, he should be authorized by the magistrate. They cannot investigate without the orders of the court. Then what is the procedure to be followed? The act is silent about all these things. So therefore, I have already given representation even to the central government to bring necessary amendments. All the officers are, they are not definite about to the procedure to be followed immediately after the offense is committed, whether to register FIR or to file a complaint. And who has to investigate the matter? That is the very, very important aspect. Is the entire act is silent about the investigation. Who has to investigate the matter? But the power to arrest and seize is given to many of the officers from many departments, even revenue officers, as per the notification. Then how they have to proceed with the investigation? So these are the issues left with, and the entire this benefit of all these lacuna and technical aspects, the offenders are taking, the hunters and poachers of this wildlife, they are taking under advantage, and they are coming out of the meshes of the law. So therefore, my humble submission is, the act should be specific. There should not be scope for interpretation, because this is the not only the offense as an ordinary offense, it is an offense against the Constitution of India, because it shall be the duty of every citizen of India to protect the wildlife and the forest. Every citizen of India is bound to follow these guidelines of the Constitution of India. So when such is the case, the offenders are, and not even before the trial, they are coming out of this court, clutches of law, because of these technical grounds. Who has to investigate? In some of the states are following procedure as per section 50 subclause 8. Only authorized officer under section 50 subclause 8 are authorized to investigate. And there is no word of police there. There is a mention that the officers of and above the rank of assistant conservator of forest and above the officers who are authorized. That has been misconceived by many courts also, because the Honorable Supreme Court has clearly clarified this point long back in the 2009 while deciding the case Motilal versus CBI. It has very clearly said that section 50 subclass 8 is nothing to do with the powers of the officer of the department to investigate. The police officers are authorized to investigate. This is the version of Honorable Supreme Court in Motilal versus CBI case. So since only the point is, to sum up, the first thing, the law should be very clear that the nature of the offense, whether the offenses are cognizable or non-cognizable. Then who has to investigate? How to register a case? The guidelines of this manual issued by WCCB is very clear. But courts are asking that the manual is not a law. The court is not bound to follow the manual because it is not a law. This is only a guideline. Therefore, since there is technical problems in registering the case and investigation and submission of final report, all these lawbreakers are coming out of the law from the clutches of law without punishment. All these pains taken by these officers in detecting, arresting and seizing property, that will result in fail. Therefore, I request you to do this valuable meeting.
Yeah, excuse me, Mr. Bandi, yes. This is very elaborate topic. I would request Dr. Niraj to give his viewpoint on this.
Okay, thank you, madam.
Keep very brief because I don't know how much the hosts will permit. But I also suggest that can also kindly give my email address, Madam Srivastav, that email address to Mr. Bandi, and I think we can really debate this issue much later. But I'll tell you, for time being, I'll say that it is, I mean, your point is elaborate and has just very serious concern about law and depth in that. But I'll say the situation is not that way. The Wildlife Protection Act is a unique act, is a composite act. It is not a normal act like IPC and CRP. CRPC is a procedure, and IPC is the bare act, the law. Action deliberately or maybe little thoughtfully, the act as a composite act in which a lot of procedure by itself have been provided. And this is said, it's been said that wherever those procedures are absent, like say simple arrest, how to arrest, how to record evidence, all the procedure we have to fall back to CRPC.
Yeah.
And Section 2 say that you have already quoted that, say that you know that. Therefore, it is not right to say that the procedures are not been defined in this act, but have been defined partially. Now, second issue of question of yours was whether the offenses are cognizable or non-cognizable, bailable or non-bailable. You know, this act very clearly defines until this amendment that wherever the Schedule 1 and Part 2 of, see, this is a schedule basis. Unlike other acts, this is a schedule-based act. It's got 6 schedules to it, and then 6 schedules have got different grades of and different listing of animals. 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, up to 6. 6 is the plant, 5 is the vermin, and then 1 to 4 are the which are addressing the species. The act very clearly says that whenever the Schedule 2 and Part 2 of Schedule 2, Schedule 1 and Part 2 of Schedule 2 species are concerned, any sections of this act which pertain to penalty and jurisdiction issues will be cognizable, non-bailable. That's why we will debate it later because we will take away the time of others. But I'll tell you, together we will read that. Can I just complete that? And then later, maybe beyond the scope of this discussion, we can also have a personal discussion on Skype itself. So says that Schedule 2 and Schedule 1 and Part 2 of Schedule 2, minimum punishment has been defined. It's not using the word bailable or bailable or cognizable or non-bailable. It says the minimum punishment has been defined, that is 3 years. Even the type of court has also been defined, first class magistrate, JFM. So these 3 things have been defined in the Act itself. So whenever we have a case which pertains to Schedule 1 or Part 2 of Schedule 2, automatically this case pertains to where the minimum penalty has been defined, that is 3 years. And as per the CRPC, the moment the minimum punishment is defined, it becomes 3 years above, it becomes cognizable, which and then also become non-bailable. Now, giving the bail or non, as per the CRPC, as per also the Supreme Court judgment, is the discretion of the magistrate. So even if the case is a non-bailable, the magistrate is quite, if convinced, he can always give the bail in it. But then very much as per the CRPC and as well as the Supreme Court judgments. Now, fourth, third, so therefore, quite well. And then other thing like Schedule 3 and other parts of Schedule 2, Schedule 3 and Schedule 4, very obviously, were only up to 3 years. So they will fall under the category of non-cognizable and bailable. So it is quite clear as per in the Act. Now, fourth thing in this is jurisdictional issues. You said Section 50, said Section 55 also. It is very clear to say that anybody can, I mean, if you look at the Kantilal, Supreme Court versus Kantilal, Supreme Court case, the Kantilal versus Delhi, the government of Delhi case in 2002. And then he also case the Ram Singh versus the state of Madhya Pradesh in 2006 or 7, in which the High Court Madhya Pradesh had given a judgment. And here in this case, Supreme Court has given the judgment. They have very clearly said that any agency which is which has seized the material. I mean, anybody can seize the material. Even private individual can also seize the material. But henceforth, you will bring it to the enforcement agency within the shortest time, and then in that agency will bring the people who are qualified to bring it up to the notice of the law. Will bring it henceforth immediately. Now, this says that any agency can seizure is not a problem, because it already says that police is not below the rank of the sub-inspector can seize the and can also investigate. Up to also that Supreme Court has confirmed that in Kantilal case. In fact, it asked me the CBI can also investigate the case. It says in that particular judgment. Issue is that can you file the case in the court of law or not? With that also I come to that question of whether complaint or charge sheet under section 193 of the CRPC or the 173 and or the complaint under the WPA 1972 has to be filed. Now this act says very clearly only a complaint has to be filed under section 55. It's not a charge sheet. Therefore, even if the police, if he's filing this case, taking cognizance in this and prosecuting in this case, and he's a prosecutor, it's going to the court, has only to file the complaint. It cannot file charge sheet. But in the Ram Singh case of Madhya Pradesh in 2006 or 7, the High Court of Madhya Pradesh has said that even police can also file charge sheet under WPA 1972. But that was largely not followed up in the country anywhere. So in this respect, keeping in mind that this is a composite law, the procedures have been given, and when only the procedures which are not given here, only have to be referred to the CRPC. So is from my end, because this will, I know that you will not be satisfied being, because you have been debating in the court. And I will tell you also, I will tell you, Mr. Bandi, for your kind information, cases are prosecuted day and night. The cases are just also day and night. There are cases in which even 7 years imprisonment has been given in Maharashtra, in Nagpur bench of the High Court of Bombay, and in which even the bail which was granted by the High Court was, the prosecution side, the government side, they fought and then got it cancelled. And you can see the judgment there, 2015 or 16, High Court versus High Court, Nagpur versus this. The individual name I've forgotten. So even the bails can be cancelled. So bail discussion with the magistrate, bailable, non-bailable, and cognizable, Schedule 2 and Part 2 of Schedule 2 and Schedule 1 entire, and all other under the non-cognizable and bailable. See the stand. Now, under my last thing from my side, though the law says, the WPA 1972, once again, it's a composite law, it says that any officer of this rank can file the case, or in the section 50 says they can make the seizure, can investigate. So investigation power is there with anyone who does under this act. But filing of that, the case in the court, when the court will take cognizance under this act, has to be also supplemented by a government order. So Karnataka has done that, Maharashtra has done that, Assam has done that, Bengal has done that, Tamil Nadu has been contemplating it, Delhi has done as a fallout of the Kantilal versus the government of Delhi case in 2002, in which CBI does that. Now CBI also empowered. In 6 states, wherever the CBI can investigate cases as well as central government-state relationship, they can investigate, they can even file the cases, they can even prosecute also completely. This is the law position.
Sir, I will come to you.
Sure. Please kindly give my email, and I will be any number of hours and time as per our mutual convenience. We can go on and debating it.
Because my concern is all these efforts put by these officers against these poachers and violators of law, they are futile now since the inception of this law.
But we are filing cases, even my own cases, I've got the judgment delivered. Where's the problem? I don't understand. Because I told you that I've been 7 years, that was not my case. 7 years thing was case of Maharashtra, and fought by a very, very good lawyer. He's there, Mukul, what is his name? Manish something is there. You can get in touch with him. Manish something, very, very good. He was earlier, even we were working together, traffic, he was a consultant. And excellent judgment have come. Problem of, tell you, of course, beyond that, this point which I'm saying, judgments are usually failing when our cases are not in shape. Our documents are not there. Our species. I'll tell you, Mr. Gandhi, there are cases in which the prosecutors, the forest officials write, animal was seized. What do you mean animal was seized? Animal is not recognized by the Act. Act only recognizes a species. You must define whether it's Panthera tigris, Panthera pardus, or it's a pangolin. Or what. So if you're not doing that, we are so weak. The forest officers are so poor in case documentation that even if I am judge, I will reject the case.
1 o'clock.
Few days back, I mean, I'm saying from a with a concern. I'm not saying from the matter of criticism. I'm saying because I'm pained to say that, because this is where we have to learn. I'll tell you a few days back, one magistrate who was also under training, we also trained the judges, the young judges, the first class magistrate, which we just out of 1 year after they have been posted, and we trained. One of the magistrates always in touch with me from Tirunelveli, and he keeps consulting me when a case comes up, and then he's not able to understand. Very recently, a case came up in Tirunelveli, and the honorable judge, called me and he said that now they had arrested the people for seizing deer meat. They did not define which deer it was, but anyway, deer meat. And then they had apprehended the people, put under custody, and third day they brought. And then they said that, please file the case. So he was asking me, sir, do we have any, can I still admit the case? I say in normal case, you should not, because you know that CRPC normal rule that, after 24 hours beyond, you cannot keep a person under your custody. But so you have to reject it with a warning also. But at the same time, there could be some also possible, as you know that in the CRPC procedure, that there could be also some reason, very genuine blockade, he could not come. So give him an opportunity in which he can say, but if his explanation is not up to the mark, not satisfactory to the honorable court, then court should rather reject it and warn him that next time he does, he will have to bear the consequences. Even I have been warned. When I did some seizure of the exotic species non-native in Bombay, in my cases, and in some very high-profile cases, I went and seized the farms and seized all those non-native species. And in subsequent 3-4 cases, the session court in Bombay warned me the next time you do your Shekhar Niraj, the regional deputy director, we will take a very serious note of you and you may face legal actions because you are not under your jurisdiction of doing it. Because there was no law in which I was empowered to seize a non-native species. That's also good for our friend in Karnataka, Bangalore. So it was not. So beyond jurisdiction should not work. So in order to make the jurisdiction very clear, here states after states under section 55 is delegating power of filing a complaint under section 55 subsection 4, I think 8 probably, by empowering by way of government order, so that there's more clarity and clear legal words on it. And then do it. And Madhya Pradesh, as I have no problem. Karnataka itself has no problem. People are even seizing non-native species. They are not even empowered to seize. In this terms, I'll tell you, there are certain cases in Kolkata when the chimpanzee were brought in. You might be aware of all those cases. Chimpanzee, marmoset monkeys from Central America, chimpanzee from Africa, and then marmoset monkey from South America. They were brought in, and some macaws also were there. And the case. And then we found that was imported and that was intercepted by the customs. Customs informed the police informed in turn the WCCB and then traffic also. And then we went for that investigation. And I would tell you that customs had seized the chimpanzees and marmoset, etc. Now they applied the section 111 and 135 of the Customs Act 1962. But then they have, you can apply anything you can apply, but then court will see it under what circumstances have you. Now, when you are already seizing the materials in the mainland, border had already left the border. It was seized ultimately from Kolkata, and from somebody's house. He was running a illegal zoo, and it was seized there. And custom applying 111, section 111 and section 135 of the Customs Act, proving that you prove, because onus of proof under this act, WP also act is onus of proof is on the accused to prove that he is not guilty. So customs said that you prove. Then the onus is to prove the customs. So that you prove that this has been actually imported into India. That they could not. So after 3 years, the case was dismissed. Of course, the court took a different complicated structure in it. They said that chimpanzee will still remain in the zoo, and now it's free for the department to decide whether to hand it over or not. So that complication. So every law is a matter of interpretation. And that's what the judges are there. That was the courts are there to interpret properly. Because no law is absolute anywhere in the world. They can say something, but the circumstances may always compel you to interpret. And that's what the WP also interpreted day and night. So there's no problem in it, I find. But we can debate later also.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm willing to do that.
Last word. Last word.
Yeah,
Last
please.
word. When an offense is detected, accused is arrested, wildlife article is seized, whether FIR to be registered or complaint should be filed.
See, when you seize a material, you only submit a first report to the court. No FIR. There is a first information report, the police says CRPC. Here you only submit a first report. You are intimating only to, here you are to the double time under in WPA, unlike in the police.
Report under section 50 subclass 4 of Wildlife Protection Act.
There is police report, and then they submit the FIR. Here we give a first information report. I mean the forest report to the court, say that this has been seized as per the act and bringing to your notice.
Because
just one second.
Many courts are insisting to file complaint immediately when the offense is detected.
At that stage, yeah, that's a complaint. It's a simple complaint. But and then you take time for running investigation. So you conduct investigation. Court says you take your time, do investigation, get all you could do, and bring with all your evidence and whatever other material or non-material evidence are there, and then you file the final complaint. And then final complaint is filed by the courts, by the forest officials, and even by the police officers in certain states, even by the CBI. I even went one step further.
Final complaint, sir. No provision under CRPC to file second or final complaint, sir.
No, it's not. So therefore, they are giving.
Once the complaint is filed, there is no provision under CRPC to file final complaint or second complaint.
But here it is. That's what the difference here it is. That you have to second time do it after investigation is done. Why it isn't kept? I was talking to long. So the person who drafted this, Dr. M.K. Ranjit Singh, great man. So I've been in touch with him all the time. So all these years. So I'm also was talking to him. Why, sir? Why did you do this? Why just to the second time when CRPC doesn't provide? He said that, see, Niraj, this is sometime here there's a live animal involved. Sometimes you don't get any evidence because it's in a remote area. You don't get any witnesses. So we get a second opportunity for the forest official to conduct a very proper investigation, gather more and more evidence, and come back solidly with that. And that was the reason of the second comment.
Thank you very much. Sorry for consuming valuable.
It's good. I really enjoyed it. That was a really enjoyable part of it. And I look forward.
I will send you the entire matters. I have already submitted to the government for a kind consideration.
You are so interested. I feel grateful. I feel grateful to you, and I really feel very thrilled by seeing your enthusiasm and this. But then I still feel that law itself is fine. In fact, I'm more unhappy with the recent amendment than anything other about this law.
The sections are contradictory to each other. Sections are contradictory to each other. So I will discuss.
Certainly, I look forward to that.
Thank you so much, Pandiji.
Okay,
it was really very good. And Dr. Niraj, oh my God, that was really very good explanation of enforcement policies and issues and all those things that you have discussed. It was really very enlightening, actually. And now I would like to request Dr. Shabana to say a few words of appreciation, and then we will end this meeting. Dr. Shabana, please.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Niraj. It has been such a wonderful talk, and we tried it for the first time to bring technical talks to Maven, and we are really excited about the response that we have got from people and all those wonderful questions. I know there are a few more questions that people wanted to ask, but I think we are already over time. Yeah, we will get them in writing and we will share them with you as well. So thank you so much for being here with us. And it really opened up a lot for us to know about. There is so much things and so much diversity of cases and so much in-depth analysis that you have done from all the aspects, from economic, social, cultural, as well as a scientific approach. So that was really very nice to see all of this together in a framework, and it was very informing. And we would like to invite you again sometime in near future. So thank you so much for sharing your valuable time and knowledge with us. And we look forward to see you again. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.